So UFC 319 was this weekend, and it was Chimaev Duplessis, and I'm sure everyone knows that Chimaev just diddy Duplessis, bro. It was dominant performance, ugly dominant performance. It wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun to watch. And before everyone goes, go watch boxing, bro. Like, dude, if you want to see just wrestling and no mixing of the martial arts, like, you go watch wrestling. I wanted to watch MMA, and it was dominant. Like, Chimaev dominated Duplessis. It was a very impressive win, but I'm allowed to think that wasn't entertaining. It really wasn't. It was just Khamzat holding DDP to the ground. But the total strikes, man. Dude, little rabbit punches in Crucifix is not that fun. You know what I mean? Like, fun to me is watching Ilya Taporia sleep people out cold. It's watching JDM box people up or scramble really well. It's watching Islam Makhachev go for submissions and actually finish people, go for ground and pound. And Chimaev's generally a guy that goes out there and he just violently puts people away early. And it's very, very entertaining. But this performance was not entertaining. If you found it entertaining, you found it entertaining. It is what it is. I'm not going to try and change your mind. You've obviously made up your mind that you need to be the hardcore that enjoys watching this guy lay on top of somebody. But it was a very impressive win by Chimaev. I'm not going to take that away from him. He dominated Dricus Duplessis more than anybody has even come close to dominating Duplessis. He made it look like DDP's never wrestled or grappled or a day in his life, period. I was screaming when I thought DDP almost had a rear naked choke at the end of round 5. That would have been crazy. But Chimaev is the best wrestler I've ever seen in the UFC, I think. I'm trying to think, like, did Khabib look that good when he was grappling guys? Like, I don't know. I don't know that he did. I think Chimaev, especially at middleweight, one of these higher weight classes, to be that good on the ground, technically, is insane. Absolutely insane. He got takedowns at will, and he didn't tire out. I think that a lot of that had to do with the the positions DDP was putting himself in. He was more just trying not to get finished and not really scrambling to create opportunities or anything, and it allowed Khamzat to get extremely dominant positions like the crucifix position where he doesn't have to do much work. He gets to kind of stay there and Dricus can't go anywhere, where if he was in half guard, Dricus would have been trying to work into full guard the whole time, trying to like roll to his back or something like that. So yeah, it was a really good performance from Khamzat Chimaev. Not overly entertaining, but it was a good performance. But we're not here for the recap. We're here for the matchmaking video. You've seen a million people recap this. I'm not gonna lock you in for another recap video that you've definitely already seen. We're gonna talk about everyone's next matchup. And Khamzat Chimaev said he wants to turn around and fight in October in Abu Dhabi. I would love that. Do I think that's realistic? No. Because I think Khamzat Chimaev is the main event of a pay-per-view, right? He's going to be the main event. And I don't think they're going to shift Aspinall Gane from the main event. They could. I just don't think they would do that. I can see them making Khamzat Chimaev as the main event in December. And that way they can have the real number one contender fight him. Because I think Imavov is going to beat Kyle Baralho. And I think that I know that he'll be next for the title shot if he does so. He's the most deserving guy. He's beaten Brendan Allen. He's beaten Israel Adesanya. Before that, he beat Jared Cannonier. Beat Roman Dolidze before that. He's the next guy, right? If he beats Baralho with that, he's on this insane 5-fight run right now that is generational against all ranked guys that he has just honestly destroyed. So I'm going to say he's going to be the next for the title shot. He's probably got the best chance against Chimaev in terms of his defensive wrestling and his speed on the feet, but it's hard to say anyone would beat Chimaev, but I think this is the main event for December. I'd love to say Ilya would turn around and fight and make December. It just doesn't seem like he will, which stinks. I'd love to see that. Maybe they make this for January. Maybe they do Khamzat Chimaev versus Nasruddin Imavov in January, first pay-per-view of the year. Neither guys really celebrate Christmas, so I think it would make sense because you're going to need someone to take that fight. And why not do the two guys that are Muslim and don't celebrate Christmas? So I say that's the one. Khamzat Chimaev, Nasruddin Imavov, January main event would be sick. And this is the real number one contenders fight at middleweight. So I'm saying Chimaev, Imavov. It's going to be UFC 324 in January, first main event. And you can put a bunch of different fights under it to help strengthen the card. They usually do a pretty good one in January unless it's in Canada. Can't blame him. Dricus du Plessis. Dude, we have one chance for this fight now. Like, this fight makes incredible amounts of sense. We need to do this right now. Reinier de Ridder versus Dricus du Plessis. Please don't take this away from me. Do not take this away from me, bro. We need DDP versus Reinier de Ridder so bad. This is dude, come on. The memes weren't for nothing, right? This is the perfect scenario where Reinier de Ridder is not going to be next for a title shot because the winner of Imavov Baralho is. But he deserves a top 5 guy that with one more win, he gets a title shot. He just beat Robert Whittaker. Dricus du Plessis also beat Robert Whittaker. Dricus du Plessis lost the title, and we're not going to want to see him get an immediate rematch. That was not close enough or entertaining enough to warrant one. I think DDP versus Reinier de Ridder is the fight. It has to be made. I don't think this is one that's like this is a main card of MSG kind of fight. You can put this as the feature fight in MSG. Dricus du Plessis, Reinier de Ridder. I say that for so many of these matchups for matchmaking, but like, this is a great fight. And it's like, Dricus still, even though he's a massive champion, has wins over Adesanya and Whittaker and Strickland, like, he doesn't have a super big name. He doesn't. It's not someone that people talk about a lot. And Reinier de Ridder's kind of the same way, where he just doesn't have a super big name. So you don't need to make this a big co-main event, right? You can make this a feature fight on the MSG card where you have 2 title fights above it. This is a great feature fight to have, or a great fight on the main card in general if you want to put an even bigger fight on above it. But it's one that we should totally see. It gets Reinier de Ridder his matchup in the top 5. It gets him his title elimination bout. And I think this is one that we all want to see. 2 guys that are just incredibly goofy in the striking. It's the one that we've all been memeing for so long. So DDP versus RDR, this is the fight that needs to be made. I say do it in MSG because Dricus did not take a lot of damage. If you want to do this in December, we can do this in December as a feature fight on that pay-per-view. But this is a fight that needs to be made, and needs to be made before the end of the year because Dricus did not take a lot of damage. RDR took more damage against Whittaker 2 weeks ago than Dricus ended up taking. So I'm doing DDP RDR. No problem. Lerone Murphy, you don't get a title shot, bro. Volk called him out for December. If they make that, okay. But I don't think knocking out unranked Aaron Pico from Bellator gets you a title shot. Same way that Yair beating Pitbull by decision doesn't get you a title shot. I think do this. Lerone Murphy versus Yair Rodriguez, and whoever wins this can have a title shot. Or maybe Lerone Murphy versus the winner of Jean Silva, Diego Lopez. The winner of that gets a title shot. I think Evloev, even though we don't love him, right? I think he gets the title shot against Volk. I think Volk's going to want to fight soon. We're not giving it to Yair. Yair has no business getting one. We've already seen that fight, and it was a dominant win from Volk. So we're not seeing the Yair one. It's not going to be Arnold Allen. He's coming off a win over Giga, and he hasn't fought in forever. I say it's Movzar. He's already beaten most of the guys. So I say this sets up a Lerone Murphy versus Yair Rodriguez, or a Lerone Murphy versus... The more I'm thinking about it, the more I like the idea of a Lerone Murphy versus Gene Silva, Diego Lopez winner for the next title shot. Or the one after Movzar. Because I think it just makes sense. So if you do that, Lerone Murphy... And I think it'll be Gene Silva, and we'll talk about why when we get to Noche, but I think Lerone Murphy versus Jean Silva for a title shot is a great fight to make. So that's actually the one I'm going to go with. Do that one at the end. That's a good MSG main card opener. A really good main card opener for MSG. A really good main card fight for MSG. I say put that one there. So Gene Silva versus Lerone Murphy. Forget the Yair Rodriguez picture. Aaron Pico. I don't know that this guy deserves a ranked contender, but I don't think they're going to do anything. Like, I honestly think the UFC has put so much PR behind him that they won't give him anyone that's not ranked. So I think they're going to give him the lowest hanging fruit with the highest number rank, or the best number ranking for him to get in. And he did get colded, so it might be a little bit. He might be until like February till he fights again. He got colded. I think the Pitbull fight. Pico versus Pitbull, no problem. 2 Bellator guys, which one stands? Which one stands? I think it's the right matchup to make. You could do a couple other ones like a Steve Garcia, but I don't think they're gonna feed like Pitbull to Steve Garcia because I think they're like, dude, like Garcia might actually knock him out, and we don't want to have Pitbull go 0-2 or Pico go 0-2. You could give him Emmett. Emmett's another one, but I just don't know when we're gonna see Emmett fight like ever. He last fought in March. At least Pico last fought in like July at the last pay per view. So it's like, okay, they have a 1 month difference. Why don't they both wait until February and they can fight each other on that on a fight night? Please do on a fight night. I don't care to see either of these guys on pay per view if I'm being honest. So Aaron Pico versus Pitbull February fight night. I think it makes sense. Carlos Pratas, give him his call out, bro. He called out Leon and he wants it for Brazil. If you have Charles Oliveira versus Rafael Fiziev as the main event and then Carlos Pratas versus Leon Edwards as the co-main event for the Brazil Fight Night card, that's a sick card. And you can pretty much just put a bunch of Brazilian fighters under it and it's going to be really, really good. So I say Pratas versus Leon Edwards. Leon's going to need to. Leon's on a 2-fight skid here against Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad. No one is really a Leon Edwards fan anyway. So it's like, take the fight, bro. Like, or just don't be in the UFC anymore. We actually don't care about Leon Edwards at all. So I just look at this and go, it's the perfect matchup. It's a guy you want to jump up in the rankings because he's a big name. He's very, very good. And he's only lost to Ian Gary in the UFC. Another, as much as I hate him, very, very good fighter. And Leon needs to defend his spot, bro. He just got dominated by Sean Brady in an absolutely insane way. And he also got destroyed by Bilal Muhammad. I say destroyed. He got decisioned by Bilal Muhammad to lose his title. So I think Pratas versus Leon Edwards, co-main event for Brazil, is perfect. He called it out. Let's normalize giving these fighters their call-outs if it actually makes sense. So Pratas, Leon Edwards is the matchup to make. Poor Jeff Neal got colded by a spinning elbow. Dude, we need to talk about that, by the way. The 2 spinning elbows in a row is crazy. Lerone Murphy flatlining Aaron Pico in round 1 is unbelievable. And Murphy flatlining Jeff Neal with a second left of the buzzer with the same technique is unreal. Those 2 guys had amazing performances, looked really, really good. And Pico didn't look bad before he got colded, but he did get colded. So it just felt like Lerone Murphy was setting something crazy up the whole time. And he was kind of pulling Aaron Pico into it. So it ended up working out. And then Pratas is so good, man. It's going to be really fun to watch him to continue fight because he still went 48-47 over Gary, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm going with it was Pratas versus Leon's last one we talked about. Jeff Neal got cold and he's going to need a little bit of time off. But I think the right matchup to make, Gabriel Bonfim. I think they're going to want to kind of jump him in the rankings a pinch here. Nothing crazy, but he's a guy they're going to want to promote a little bit. I'm sure he's going to want to fight in Brazil, but I know Jeff Neal's not going to be ready for fucking Brazil. So sometime early next year. And Gabriel Bonfim is not the most active guy. We can say that for sure. Gabriel Bonfim versus Jeff Neal is a good fight to make for the start of next year. Give Jeff Neal the rest of the year to heal up, deconcuss, and yeah, main card opener of a pay-per-view in January. I don't hate. Maybe a feature fight of a fight night in January. Not bad. But I think this is one where you look and it's like, Jeff Neal is going to be able to defend the takedowns. So Gabriel Bonfim is going to be forced to stand on the feet with him. Gabriel Bonfim is decent at striking, but Jeff Neal is much, much better. This isn't some killer for Jeff Neal either. It's not like he's drawing, oh, now you get Morales. Shit. It's an easier matchup for him. I don't hate a D-Rod matchup too, but I'm really holding out for the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Daniel Rodriguez. I'm not going to lie, I'm holding out for that one. But I think Jeff Neal versus Gabriel Bonfim is a good matchup because Jeff Neal is going to look at it and go, all right, this guy's nothing crazy. Like, I can defend the takedowns, no problem. I can defend the submissions, no problem. And he's going to be stuck on the feet with me. I like my odds. So I think it's a good one to make. Jeff Neal, Gabriel Bonfim. Let's see that one. Number 11 ranked versus number 13 ranked. I think it makes a lot of sense. So let's see that one. Then MVP called out Carlos Pratas. Bro, you're on a streak at middleweight right now with a win over Shara Magomedov, who when you beat him was ranked 15, and against number 8 or 9 ranked Jared Cannonier. Why are you going back down to middleweight to fight at just a striker? or going back down to welterweight to fight Carlos Pratas. Oh, because he's just a striker, he won't take you down. I know who else won't take you down at middleweight. That is a big matchup, and I know you guys pretend to be friends, but this matchup would go hard. This is a main event of a fight night. You have the perfect main event of a fight night here. Israel Adesanya versus MVP. Two guys that are going to strike. Very good technical strikers. And this is one of those matchups that you're looking and you're like, this is a dream fight. We're getting MVP versus Israel Adesanya, two of the most credentialed strikers in the UFC, finally get to face each other. It's a matchup I think Izzy would take because there's no threat of a takedown here. It's a matchup I think MVP would take because there's no threat of a takedown and you get to jump up in competition. You get to jump up in the rankings here at middleweight that you've been doing really well at. And I think this just makes sense. These are two guys that should be main eventing a fight night right now. I think if you main event a fight, the last fight night of the year, whatever the last one is, you usually go to Florida for it. If you do UFC Tampa, Israel Adesanya versus Michael Venom Page as the main event, that is a sick card. That is going to be a sick fight. It may not end up being a barn burner, but it's a high level matchup in terms of the striking, and there's a lot of name value on that fight. So I say that's the one you make. Last fight night of the year, MVP versus Israel Adesanya main event. Perfect. Jared Cannonier lost MVP. Did make it close, but he lost. A matchup that I've wanted to see forever is Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa. And this gets Paulo Costa on the right track where he beats a Roman Kopylov badly. Then he gets the Jared Cannonier matchup, the next step. That gets him one step closer to his eventual Khamzat Chimaev fight. So if he beats Cannonier, he beats Kopylov, then he can say, I want a title eliminator bout, and we can justify it because Paulo Costa's, a big name, right? You end up giving him maybe you give him a DDP at some point if DDP loses RDR, or you give him an RDR, whoever loses. And then the winner of that will get the titles or something along those lines. But I think Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier is a matchup that we would want to see. Cannonier didn't do too bad for a guy that, he's fighting MVP as a predominant striker who is, MVP is one of those guys that's not going to lose those striking fights. So, sorry, getting a little phlegmy. But I think Costa versus Cannonier is a great fight to make. Fight night co-main event. I'm in for that. Fight night co-main event. You can put it on a main card of a pay-per-view, but not a feature fight or higher. I would say it's a main card opener for a pay-per-view. That's the one I would do. Sometime at the end of the year would be great. Honestly, if you do this as the co-main of the Tampa card, I think it's great. Co-main of that or the card at the end of the year, whatever it is for the fight night, that'd be a great fight. Tim Elliott subbed Asakura. I don't understand this, man. Asakura is supposed to be good, bro. I don't understand it. My lock loses. Of course it does, because that's how shit works, man. Tim Elliott, Ramazan Temirov. You're going to use Tim Elliott as a stepping stone anyway. Just put him against a guy that, good grappling defense, good grappling offense as well. Powerful striker, someone that you're going to want to promote a little bit more. And I think Temirov is one of those guys they're trying to promote. So I think it makes sense. Tim Elliott versus Ramazan Temirov. Not a bad matchup. Then we got Kai Asakura. Like, what do you do with Asakura here? Say you just give him the worst flyweight on the roster that has a ranked number next to his name. You could do a Charles Johnson matchup. You could, but he might lose to Charles Johnson. You're trying to get Kai Asakura a win here. I think Bruno Silva is dog shit. So I'm going to say Kai Asakura versus Bruno Silva is the fight to make. Why not, right? Do it in Japan. Kai Asakura doesn't get to main event anymore because Taira's the real fighter from Japan now. So, yeah, I say Asakura versus Bruno Silva. It's the worst guy with a ranking next to his name. You could do an Ode Osborne, but at this point, Ode Osborne might find a way to chin him. I guess we'll see. But, yeah, I say Kai Asakura, Bruno Silva is the matchup. Baisenyor Susurkayev, good win. Submission win over Eric Nolan, even though he did get rocked in round one. It was a pretty entertaining fight. Good shit from Nolan to get in there and just scrap it out, really give it a go. So I think Susurkayev's perfect matchup is a Dustin Stoltzfus. It's a next step up in competition against someone that could, outcraft them a bit here, but it's probably going to be a win for Susurkayev against a guy that is a vet in the UFC, and we can kind of see where he stands a little bit more after this one. Willing to bet he wants to turn around for the Abu Dhabi card as well, so I say fucking do it. Do it. Let's make this guy a little bit of a star here. So I say Susarkaya versus Stoltzfus. Great fight to make. Mihal and Jacek called out Marvin Vettori. Not yet. Not yet. One more win, and I'm okay with it. But I'm willing to test out this chin theory, though. You want to test out a chin theory? Let's test out Marvin Vettori's chin. Okay. Let's get you a different one before that. We're gonna test the chin of somebody, though. Bro, let's test this one. Mihal and Jacek versus Kelvin Gastelum. I don't care when you book this, sometime just before the year ends. This is a great fight. They're predominantly going to strike. Two southpaws, powerful guys, and this is a good step up for Mihal and Jacek, who is destroying people the second he puts the Fighting Nerds glasses on. So, just saying, there's real plot armor here. And I'd love to see him versus Kelvin Gastelum. Let's see how he does in this fight. I think that Mihal is going to be able to walk forward the whole time. And I don't think he'll try and let Kelvin back in the fight like Pfeiffer did. So I'm going to say Olin Zaechuk versus Kelvin Gastelum is a great fight to make. Brazil. Honestly, do it for Brazil. Let Mihal and Jacek go out there as a fighting nerd in Brazil and beat Kelvin Gastelum. Fuck it. Love it. That's the fight to make. And then lastly, Alexander Hernandez knocked out Chase Hooper. A little bit of an early stoppage, but he did knock him out, I guess. I say Drakkar Klose, who got his win over Edson Barboza, who some people are calling it a robbery. I think they got that totally right. I think the commentary needs to shut the fuck up because they don't know what they're talking about ever. They're so bad on commentary, dude. I'm sick of them. But anyway, I think Hernandez versus Drakkar Klose makes sense. Both lightweights, both outside the rankings, both need more wins to get into the rankings, so I say this is a good one to make. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. UFC 319 had just happened, and we'll see if we can make a couple other videos this week that are interesting.